Hello everyone, my name is Nathan Jones and today I'm going to be speaking with you guys about a senior design project that I was privileged to participate in this year at George Mason University. The topic of our project is assessment of soccer referee proficiency in time-sensitive decision making. Our project sponsor organization is the Metro DC Virginia State Referee Program, or MDCVSRP, who oversees all soccer referees within the Commonwealth of Virginia. MDCVSRP has three primary responsibilities, where their ability to carry out two of their responsibilities is heavily dependent on how well they can assess referee quality in terms of call accuracy. Therefore, the topic we focus on this project is how best to assess referee quality and ability to perform on the field. When referees perform in games, they follow a standard call-making process in which they'll perceive a potential event through the use of a sensory function. Once they've perceived they might need to make a call, they use a cognition for making calls function to tie together what they've seen in the game with their understanding as to the rules of the game. This function then determines their ability to make good calls and determines their accuracy of calls made. A referee's ability to carry out cognition for making calls is dependent upon their distance from call events, where their position is determined by both the cognition for positioning and propulsion function. Cognition for positioning is where a referee takes in their understanding of game flow and determines where they want to be on the field to be able to make a good call, where propulsion is the ability of a referee to physically make it to that location. The ability of a referee to carry out these three primary functions, which determine their ability to make good calls, are represented by attributes, where call decision making, or CDM, is a referee's ability to carry out cognition for making calls. Game flow understanding, or GFU, is a referee's ability to carry out cognition for positioning, and fitness is the ability of a referee to carry out propulsion. Within MDCVSRP, game flow understanding and fitness are only assessed for senior referees, which is problematic because junior referees make up about 96% of the total referee body. Therefore, most of the referees within MDCVSRP are not receiving assessment on 2 out of 3 of the primary functions which enable a referee to make good calls in a game. Therefore, an assessment method is needed to evaluate referee accuracy and overall quality in a cost-effective manner utilizing fitness and/or game flow understanding attributes, and we're applying this need statement directly to the junior referee population within MDCVSRP. In order to fulfill this need statement, we identified 4 primary design alternatives. The first is a fitness test which assesses a referee's fitness attribute at about $27,000 for a one-time assessment. The second is a game flow evaluation assessing a referee's GFU attribute, which costs about $340,000 for a one-time assessment. The third is a combined evaluation assessing both the referee's fitness and GFU, costing a little bit over $340,000. And the fourth is no assessment, which assesses no attributes and costs nothing, and is simply a representative of the status quo, against which we can compare the benefit of the 3 preceding alternatives. In our analysis, costs are defined as a physical plus implementation cost for a one-time evaluation of all junior referees within MDCVSRP. In order to determine the benefit of each one of our alternatives to our stakeholders, we defined a common utility across which alternatives could be compared. So we defined this utility as the expected call accuracy of the top 100 referees identified using each alternative within the junior referee pool of MDCVSRP. To determine these utilities, we conducted a 2-part analysis, in which part 1 focused on creating a function for call accuracy based on a referee's fitness and GFU attribute levels through the use of a discrete soccer game simulator. Part 2 utilized this regression created in Part 1 to compute the expected call accuracy of the top 100 referees selected by each alternative as identified through a Monte Carlo analysis. So right now we're going to move on to discussing the first part of our analysis, which is our simulation to quantify the impact of fitness and game flow understanding on a referee's call accuracy. So basically what we did is we conducted a simulator which replicates actual soccer games. And then we would program in these referee profiles, which are defined as having both a fitness and game flow understanding attribute, and then see how well they perform when call events are triggered in this simulated game environment. For each referee profile over a large number of games, we compute their average call accuracy. So by assessing a larger number of profiles, in which we assessed 25, we could see how variations in fitness and game flow understanding affect the accuracy of referees. Based on that understanding, we could then conduct a regression analysis to quantify the impact of the fitness and GFU attribute on a referee's overall quality. So to create this environment, we had to utilize probability maps from English Premier League games to replicate ball movement, and then we took in call grids and distance versus call accuracy function, from which we would generate call events and determine a referee's ability to make accurate calls during those events. So right now I'm going to show you guys a brief demo of our simulator and what it looks like when it's running. As you can see, when our simulation begins, you have to select a number of menu items on the top, primarily what referee profile you're looking at and what display mode you're interested in. Once you select those items, you can begin a simulation and a ball will begin moving. A black line emanating from the ball indicates it's currently being dribbled, where a red line indicates it's a pass with the home team having possession. A blue line indicates a pass with the away team having possession. On the right hand side, there's information corresponding to the game, such as the number of game in the script, the home and the away team, as well as their score, game time, and time of possession for teams. There's also information about a referee that you can see running around, such as their speed and total distance run, and there's information corresponding to call events, such as the number of events and how many calls are made correctly. You can increase the speed of the simulator, so previously we were at real time, and now we increase that speed up to 10 times that time. So moving forward, the output of our simulation was an understanding as to how fitness and game flow understanding affects a referee's ability to make correct calls. So what you see here is the data output of our simulation, where you can see that increases in fitness from a worst of 0 to a best of 100 improves call accuracy non-linearly, where furthermore an increase in GFU from 0 to 100, scaled the same way, again improves call accuracy non-linearly. The worst call accuracy for a referee was about 71% correct calls on average, where the best is about 76% correct calls, and based on this you can see fitness tends to have the greatest impact on a referee's ability to make good calls. From this analysis we created a regression, and then we're able to move into our part 2 analysis, where we are able to quantify the overall utility of our alternatives. So we are able to determine using our regression that a fitness test is most beneficial to our sponsor, followed by a combined evaluation, game flow evaluation, and no assessment. We conducted a cost-benefit analysis in which we determined that the fitness test dominates both the game flow evaluation and combined evaluation. So our analysis, in terms of a marginal analysis, lied between conducting the fitness test and no assessment or the status quo. The marginal cost of the fitness test was about $27,000 over the status quo, for a utility improvement of only 2.8% in terms of the call accuracy of the top 100 referees identified. Therefore, our recommendation was that it's not cost effective to implement assessment of junior referees within MDCVSRP, and the status quo should be maintained. We conducted some further analysis to see how different team combinations affected a referee's ability to perform, and it was actually interesting that we were able to conclude that team combinations did have a significant impact. So you can see that teams like Stoke versus Stoke, where we took essentially a team representing Stoke City in the English Premier League and utilized probability maps representing those teams for the home and the away team, referees performed much worse than in games like United versus United. Therefore, when you're assessing the quality of referees, you can't simply ignore the team combination and their impact on game flow in terms of a referee's performance. So that variable really needs to be considered as a potential confounding variable when assessing the performance of referees based on how well they are able to play in specific games with specific team combinations. So thank you very much for your time. I enjoyed speaking with you all, and please check out our paper as well as the Systems Engineering Department at George Mason University.